Hiya.
Hello. Hello. How you doing?
Good.
Good.
I'm being choosy with who I admit right now.
I'm sure.
And
I am running on fumes like I never have. It's been nonstop.
were people talking to you about this?
Not really, just
Okay.
copies. Yeah. I mean, I can truthfully say I spoke to one person briefly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm trying to be as transparent and straightforward with all the perspectives. So, but that's it. No, I've only been copied on what you guys have for the, like I said, for the most part.
All right. All right. I'm admitting everybody now. Okay, guys? This is awesome. We have so many people joining. All right, we have 22 people. I just want to say before Kelly kicks it off that this meeting is being recorded and we will distribute it after the meeting is over. So if you don't consent to be recorded, you can leave. I think you all have to sign something in. I think you have to agree to that to enter the meeting anyway, but just being clear. All right. Who's kicking this off?
Hi, it's Michelle. It's going to be kicking it off, and I'll be finishing with community announcements and stuff.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We know everyone has a lot going on. We appreciate you taking time out to be with us tonight. I'd like to call the meeting to order. A couple of things. We're going to do some introductions. If you could just tell us your name and your students that go to NPE. And we just ask that if you do want to unmute and speak, that if you're able to, if you could please turn your camera on. It also makes it a little easier for us to see who's talking. That would be very helpful. So I'll start. I'm Michelle Slavin. I have a fourth grader and a second grader at NPE. I am one of the co-chairs of the PTO along with Kelly Convery.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly. I have a fifth grader and a second grader. And I'll turn it over to Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Stransky. I have a third grader, Hank, and a first grader, Ivy. And I am one of the co-vice chairs with Julie Abrams, who is going to be delayed joining today. So Jess, I'll pass it to you. Jess, you're muted.
Ricky Mistake. I'm Jessica Stillman Lloyd. I am the secretary of the executive board and I have 3 kids. I have one 7th grader and then I have a 2nd grader and a 4th grader at MP.
I am Stephanie Schramm. I am dispersing treasurer. I have a 2nd grader, Serafina, and an incoming kindergartner next year, Elliot. And Sarah Hall is the receiving treasurer. Oh, there she is.
Sarah, you're on mute.
I am on mute. I just realized that. I'm in the car. Sorry, picking up. I'm Sarah Hall. I look a hot mess with this light. I have a 10th grader and I have twin first graders. So I don't even know who I'm passing it to. Is there
I can
anybody?
I can just call who I see on the
That's what I was
screen.
gonna say. I don't know if there's anybody else on the board.
That's
think
fine.
that would be it. Yeah.
Sarah, if you could go, Sarah Christensen.
Sure. Good evening. I'm Sarah Christensen. I have a 5th grader at NPE.
Thank you. Caitlin Shump.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Shump. I have a 2nd grader.
Thank you. Jennifer Garfel.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Garfall. I have a 6th grader and a 2nd grader at NPE.
Thank you. Grace Lloyd.
Hi, I'm actually not at NPE anymore. I have 7th grader and 9th grader, but I'm here to represent the Middle School Home and School Association. I'm one of the co-chairs there.
And you are missed. Next, we have Jennifer, and I apologize. I think it's Menaker.
Yep, you're perfect. Great. Hi, I'm Jen Menaker. I have a 7th grader and a 5th grader at NPE.
Thank you. Stephanie Powers.
Hi, I'm actually Stephanie King.
I know, sorry.
No, it's okay. Powers is with my my teaching name. So I'm Stephanie Powers. I have a 2nd grader at NPE. I have a 7th and a 9th grader, but I'm here to talk about Read Across America tonight and to, I guess, well, that we'll just leave it at that. Yep, great.
I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I'm just reading it off the screen quickly. Christina Costanzo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Costanzo. I have a 10th grader, and then at NPE, I have a 4th grader and a 2nd grader.
Thank you. Ali Kuzma.
Yes, I have a kindergartner and a age 2 and 4-year-old, so starting out early.
Got your hands full. Thank you.
Yeah.
Emily Stefanski.
Hi, I'm Emily Stefanski, and I have a 1st grader, Ivy, and a 3rd grader, Hank, and I'm Mike's wife.
Mary Button.
Hi, I'm Mary Button. I have a 2nd grader at NPE.
Thank you. Welcome. Heidi Velhagen.
Hi, my name is Heidi Velhagen, and I have Thomas in 5th grade at NPE.
Great. Kelly, and I always mispronounce this, Kelly Kelly K.
You're good. Kelly Cackle-Rees, and I have a 3rd grader and 1st grader and a 2-year-old.
Thanks. Avi.
Hey, I'm Avi Putty. I have a 5th grader.
Nancy.
Hi, Nancy West, twin daughters in 3rd grade.
Thank you. Nancy Schuster.
Hi, I'm going to introduce myself and Dave at the same time. I'm Nancy Schuster. This is Dave. And we have 4 kids, a 10th grader, a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a current 4th grader at NPE.
Great. We got 2 out of the way there. Jeanette Henderson.
I have a 3rd grader in MPA, the 7th graders, and obviously Strathaven.
Thank you. Colleen Kudrick.
Hi, sorry, I'm not on camera. Wasn't preparing to speak tonight. I am actually an NPE alumni parent. I have a 10th grader and a 7th grader, and I just came to listen in, not vote or speak on the Williamsburg disbursement plan. And we miss NPE.
We miss you too. We appreciate your supporting the community. And I think the only other one, Emily Moyer. Emily, are you there?
I got a message that she left, but she has a 5th grader and 3rd grader. She's the same as me.
Okay, and I believe I've got everyone. If not, please speak up, but I think we went through everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to Principal Heinley for the principal's report.
Thank you. It's great to see everybody. I hope everyone had a wonderful winter break. I hope everybody had a chance to spend time with family and friends. Coming into the new year, I'm not much of a resolution person, but more of a goal setting, both personal and professional. And for NPE and the district, we're undergoing a lot of kind of reflection upon our instruction, our community, and those activities are manifesting themselves through the different audits. You've probably heard from Dr. Marseille. We are most currently undergoing a curriculum audit, kind of reflect upon the good things that we're doing and try to get even better. So I'll be providing updates in future meetings about the audits. The equity audit has thus far, as you may have seen, consisted of focus groups at each of the elementary schools. I was present at WES and SRS facilitating one of the groups last night, which was a great opportunity for me to interact with parents and hear experiences in other schools, but also to connect, just across the district. So this process, the district has contracted with an outside company to come in and look at our practices and see where we can get better and better. So, and make it a more diverse and accepting experience for all. We do have an equity committee at NPE who has worked closely with me to bring diverse texts into our classrooms. And as you may have seen in the last e-blast for MLK Day, part of our programming, in addition to classrooms, are collections. The staff is doing their own collection, sort of from a lead by example perspective. We are collecting items for Delaware Mutual Aid, which is a homeless shelter. Mainly those items are undergarments, other clothing items, and also hygiene products. So as a staff, we have kind of our own goals that we've set for ourselves. And for the students, I apologize. I was hoping to have an e-blast out today. That did not happen. But within the next 24 hours, there will be an e-blast detailing the animal shelter collection that we're going to be doing. We're going to be collecting bath towels, blankets, and top sheets, which are used for bedding for animals in, we have 2 shelters that we're partnering with. One, I believe, is Providence Animal Shelter, and the other is Rags to Riches. So we'll be sending paper slips home with students as well. So this will be kind of announced officially this week, and slips of paper will be going home with students next week. We might push the deadline for that, but it will be about a 2-week collection. So in the spirit of a day of service, we are looking at 2 collections, one for staff, one for students, to make a difference in the community. In addition, we are also looking at other ways that we can give back to the community in the spring as well. So I'll have updates on additional ideas that our equity committee has kind of come up with to kind of keep that spirit of service going, not just one month or one day, but throughout the year. In terms of dates, January, as you know, we've already had 2 snow days. I hear there's more snow coming in on Sunday, but fortunately, I don't think we will be affected, hopefully not, on Wednesday, as there's no school, obviously, on Monday or Tuesday. We are closed for observance of MLK Day on Monday, the 17th. Teachers will have an in-service on Tuesday, the 18th. And those are the only 2 scheduled days for the remainder of the month, I believe. And finally, on, I believe, Friday, the 28th, report cards will be issued to families. I believe that this year that is K through 5. In the past, K has been a little bit of a different schedule. This year, I believe kindergarten, they will be going home the same day as 1 through 5. And just a reminder, the report cards are typically sent via email through our server. So you should be receiving a PDF copy of your child's report card. We also can make paper copies available. I just ask you request one from the office and we can make that happen. But those will be going home via email to parents after 4 p.m. on Friday the 28th. So I have a couple more things, but as I said, looking forward to the new year and hopefully smoother times ahead of us. As you've probably seen from the superintendent's email, we have experienced a surge in numbers, both staff and students, but it appears that after the first couple of weeks, things are indicating that we will see a decrease. I strongly encourage everyone to follow the board meetings, which are now, I believe, once a month. The next general meeting, I believe, is the 24th. We are still moving forward with the mask optional date of February 7th, but I'm sure that that will be a situation the district will monitor. But as of right now, the district is still moving forward. I just encourage everyone to tune into the school board meetings and look for any emails from Dr. Marseille to keep up to date. But we are following our safety measures at NPE. We have been fairly fortunate that our numbers have been, as you've probably seen, a little bit on the lower side, even comparison to district schools. However, we are continuing with our safety protocols. And just finally, my last part, I just want to thank, I know we have a lot of people out tonight. I've seen some emails in the last 24 hours, and I know that we have a diversity of opinion on moving forward with looking at the Williamsburg funding that has accrued. So I just wanted to acknowledge the diversity of opinions and also just to thank current and past parents, particularly on our executive boards and throughout PTO. It's a volunteer position, and everything that our parents do is giving of their own time. And I always look for commonalities when there is difference of opinions. And the commonality is everything that this group, past, present, and future, will be to support our kids. And that's what brings us all together. And I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate the complexity of the issue. And as I said, kind of the diversity of opinion. But I also want to thank you, all of you, because all of that comes from caring and shows the support and the passion that you have about our school and our students. So I know there's a lot of work to be done tonight and moving forward, but I want to thank everyone and just try to acknowledge the commonalities that we all do have, even amongst a diversity of opinion. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heinley. I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie for the budget.
Hi, everybody. I am gonna, in part of the emails that were sent out, we do have a budget adjustment and some reserve funding that we want to use. I hope everyone got a chance to look at it. I don't have the option to share my screen right now, I think.
I'll fix it really quick. I'm sorry, Steph.
It's okay. I have no problem giving it to whoever too. So what we have found is that due to two very successful fundraisers, we have our direct donations fundraiser that we did. We exceeded our original ask by over $700, and the Delco Turkey Trot, which we brought in double the amount that we actually had originally budgeted. It was totally unprecedented. We were not expecting it. And so with that, and the other successful fundraisers that we had with the Election Day bake sale and some of our other events that actually came under budget, like our movie night and things, we when I went back in and looked at some of the numbers, we now went from a deficit of $1,900 to a surplus of almost $7,000. So in order to accurately come up with our budget, we wanted to adjust all of those numbers in our budget to show that we have a net profit right now. And we also wanted to adjust some of the other line items in our budget. Can I share my screen now, Jess?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, let me see here how I do this. Okay. All right, so one of the things that we wanted to do was increase the community garden budget because it has been such a huge interest with our students and the community. People always comment how great it looks, and it's a really great learning opportunity for the kids. So we wanted to increase that budget to help accommodate some of the extra asks for the spring and over the winter for seed starting and things like that. With International Night, we are planning to cancel this event, but we don't want to remove it totally from the budget. So I just want to make it a budget 0 so that it can stay on for next year so that we are able to do that. But with the current restrictions in place, we don't see a way that we can do International Night. This should say pizza bingo. So going forward, if we're able to do this event, we want to make sure that there's no pressure for fundraising. So we want to make it a more fun event. So we wanted to just bring the budget income back down to 0 so that they do not need to be pressured to bring in any money. We want to add a year-end celebration for the entire school. We already have a line item for all the 5th grade activities that we do at the end of the year, but we wanted to add one for the whole school as a year-end celebration. And we've also gotten feedback that we've heard the nurse could use some funding for some supplies for to help better serve the students. So we want to add $3,500 to our budget. And that would still leave us with a net of over $3,600. So I guess we're just going to vote, and if anybody has any questions, you can ask. I'll open it up. Okay, and I guess we'll do voting.
Sorry, I couldn't find myself to unmute myself. So is the end of year celebration different than May Day, or did May Day go by the
Yep.
wayside?
This would be totally something completely different. May Day is, I guess, the Spring Festival is what we were talking about, I guess, with May Day. So we're doing the Spring Festival, which was going to also be Fall Fest, which we substituted with movie night. It's a little bit of a moving around, but we're still going to do like the Spring Festival. That's a totally different line item. The year-end celebration is something added, and it'll probably be more in like June, like toward the very end of the year. So.
Stephanie, we were thinking maybe, this is Kelly, sorry to interrupt. We're thinking ice cream trucks for all the grades and the teachers and staff. I think the middle school did that in the past and it was very successful. So we were thinking about doing something similar to that. That's what we're thinking right now for year-end celebration, like ice cream trucks come up and they can get whatever they want.
Thank you. Sounds fun.
So I guess, Grace, did you have a question, Grace?
Yeah, sorry. At the middle school, just to clarify, we had the Kona water ice truck for the 8th grade end of year celebration. It was $500 just to rent that. And then there's also a local person here who is a vendor for Dippin' Dots. That was also something that we had made available for the 8th grade that you might want to consider for your year-end celebration.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Grace.
Awesome, Grace. We'll
Appreciate
definitely
it.
get all that information from you. It's so
Those kids
valuable.
love Dippin' Dots for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to launch the poll for the vote for the budget,
be
for
great.
this budget adjustment. I just want to make it clear that sorry, Grace, only the only current parents are able to vote on this. All right, ready? Okay, we have 34 participants. And so if you guys,
And Jess, I think since a couple of us are hosts right now, only up to 31 can vote.
Okay.
But I also vote in favor, so.
Yeah, me too. And Stephanie, I'm sure she likes it. Okay. All right, so budget is approved
Okay.
from a vote of 29-1. Thank you.
Great. And then we do, okay, so I'll just X that out. All right, and then so what the other request we have is we had a reserve coming into the year of $17,000, and we were contemplating what we wanted to do with it. We definitely wanted to hold on to some of it if we needed it for a net loss that we had, but now that we know we're going to have a profit, we wanted to definitely give back to our school from that reserve fund, as well as keeping a little bit so that we can maybe do some capital improvements with some of the profit that we have this year. So a couple of the requests were rugs for the classrooms. So that is actually 22 of our teachers wanted rugs, and so that is comes to $5,800. Mr. Heinley suggested a bike rack for the front door. As of the other day, it was on sale for $737, but this is the actual price of the $1,300. I don't know if it's going to be on sale tomorrow when I go to purchase it. If this
if I could just jump in right here, because I know that a couple years ago I have a mea culpa to do, because the PTO actually pushed to go for 3 and I said 2. And here we are 2 years later and I still don't know where we're putting it, but our bike population when the weather is still growing, and it's I don't know where we're putting it, but we'll find a spot. We have to, but I have to say, because I guarantee I remember that vividly saying we're okay with 2. So I apologize for my error in judgment about 2 or 3 years ago. So
and like I said, it was on sale when I checked the other day, but I don't know if it's still going to be on sale tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure we accounted for the full price for that. But I'm sure you'll find a great place for it, Mr. Heinley. And then Mr. Heinley also suggested some outdoor games and resources for recess, as well as since we had a loss of income from book fairs and things like that, we wanted to give back to the library so that they're able to provide some resources for our kids, additional resources. And if you were at our PTO meeting was it last month? All these months are going together. But we actually had our librarian in and was talking about like some of the library things she wants to do, STEAM activities as well as library. She did put together a wish list, which is actually under this $3,500, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough money in there that she didn't feel like she had to hold back. And then anything above and beyond this $3,500, we can always share the wish lists with our community. And if anybody feels so led to help offset some of that cost, we can also do that in the future. Does anybody have any questions about this reserve request? Because it'll be $11,000 if the bike rack is not on sale, and that'll still leave us with $5,600 in the reserve on top of our $3,600 profit from this year. Okay, and you're always.
I just wanted to chime in. Maybe the bike rack could be made for smaller bikes, because I know my kindergartner's bike is too little to fit into. Like I couldn't even get it into the rack. So just a consideration.
So, and Mr. Heinley, if you have a different suggestion for another bike, or I know that they're not supposed to be riding their bike by themselves at least until 3rd grade, but
it's possible. We do have students, but if they have an adult, so there certainly are possibilities. Yeah, no, I'd be more than happy to look into that and maybe present it. I mean, as part of it or in addition to.
I mean, also if the bike rack is approved at $1,300 and it actually is on sale for $700, then we can use the difference as well, because it was approved for the $1,300 as a line item that we can try to see if we can get one for smaller bikes and that costs.
Sure.
And we can always do another vote, in the future for additional reserves to be used. And if anybody has any suggestions for things to the school, we can always reach out to the teachers and Mr. Heinley to see if it's something that, we would be able to do going forward. So does anybody else have any questions or concerns about the reserve use?
All right, I'm going to launch the poll.
Okay.
And actually, while you're doing that, I should say the outdoor games involve additional equipment and like life-size Connect 4. We're going to try it and see how that goes. Something new. Probably, I think we have 3 of those. They're literally life-size Connect 4. So
It's
it should
really
be-
cool, actually.
Yeah.
It was really
So
cool.
we'll see. We'll see how things work, but we'd like to give the students more options.
Okay.
And Jess, I'll lodge my positive vote on this as well.
Okay. And myself as well. And staff, I presume you're in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Has everybody voted? All right, so that passes 23 to 1.
26 to 1.
Oh, 26 to 1. You're right.
Because of our 3 votes. Yep.
You know what? You're
And it was the same for the last budget.
And listen, I'm not the accountant here, okay?
It was also for the budget adjustment as well. It was the same numbers. So excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. And I guess I will pass it off to Mike. I will stop my screen share and pass it off to Mike.
Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm gonna. All right. Does everyone see that well? Jess, can you give me a thumbs up if you see it? All right, thanks, Kelly. All right, so thanks everybody. So today we're gonna go over the options that are on the table today. And oh, Jessica, you have a hand up.
No, ignore me.
Okay. We're gonna review the options that we have on the table, open up for discussion, get some feedback. Hopefully be able to vote on this so that we have some direction moving forward. I'm going to review the deck that we presented on December 1st at our December meeting, and then also share the additional ideas that came forward. So I really do want to say thank you to like the folks that like have sent emails in. It's nice to know that like when Jess is sending out, or like we're sending out the emails, that people are reading and taking a look at it and like processing and thinking about it. So thank you everybody for those that have made some feedback, and we hope that we've captured that here. So currently the balance of our 5th grade field trip Williamsburg fund is $20,350. The current grades 2 through 5 have contributed into this balance through all school fundraisers since kindergarten. And then of course, grades 6 and 7 also contributed to it. The current first and kindergarten classes have not contributed to the balance, as we didn't have any fundraisers in that the 2021 or 21-22 school years for the Williamsburg trip. With the decision to be made that that trip is not going to be held this year in 2021-22, we are seeking a plan to spend down this balance, benefiting the classes that have contributed to the funds. And we do want to be clear, like this is not making any presumptions regarding the future of Williamsburg trips in the future years. As those decisions are made, the PTO at those times can certainly make decisions to continue to support that. So the first question, I just need to play around with 1 or 2 things here. Okay, if at any point during the presentation you have a question or a comment, please use your the Zoom functions to raise your hand just to catch my attention. And if others can help, interrupt me too at any point. So the first recommendations 1 and 2 were presented at the December board or at December General Assembly meeting. This was an idea that was intended to divide the balance among the contributing classes, proportionate to the number of years at NPE. It started with 6th grade, and other examples have different options that include the 7th grade based upon the feedback. But it took a look at using the 6th grade fund, that 33%, that 6,783 would be made available for a field trip scholarship fund for any student on free and reduced lunch on the NPE's class of 2020 share. So really this recommendation was that the current 5th through second grades would have funds put towards their 5th grade field trip. And future PTO budgets can supplement to make that whole on whatever that value is that future PTOs determined to be the budget. That 6,783 for the 6th grade was intended to be used until depleted for the field trip fees for the students in any grade if they were on free and reduced lunch. So this is an idea that was kind of intended to like a little bit of a pay it forward for the graduating classes, that their share was going to go towards future classes. So I do want to pause here and see, I'm going to give everyone an option to kind of speak in favor of the idea. If anybody does have anything that they want to say why they think that this could work, we'll do that for each of the 5 options. And then we'll open it up for anybody that might have another option before having more general discussion. So does anybody care? Hi, Sarah.
Hi, I don't have an opinion as of yet, but I have a question.
Sure.
What is the current practice for financial or activity offset for students who might have financial difficulty? Is that a PTO lift, or is that something in the district that's currently handled?
I want to say that it is a PTO lift. If there is, we have a budget item for working with Mr. Heinley, that if a family says that they need support, working with Mr. Heinley and social workers in the district can identify that need. And we do have a budget for that. There may be some other options inside the district to assist with that, but the intent here was to be a little bit more broad and more proactive, saying that it wouldn't require a family to kind of raise their hand and come forward and say that they needed help or make a tough decision of going on the field trip or allocating the resources another way. And that the intent would be that any student that was on free or reduced would just have those fees covered by this balance. So that was the idea. Does that answer your question? Great, thanks. Jeanette, I see your hands up.
Don't we already have funds for scholarship funds for this?
It is, yeah, it's in part that balance of Stephanie, if I can maybe call on you, is it $400 that we have in Adopt the Family? Or Kelly, I need to switch over to the budget. Jeanette, there is some funds allocated to assist families that come forward and say that they need help, or that Mr. Heinley or the social worker in the district do know about it. So there is some funds available.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Oh,
Okay,
sorry, I was
thanks.
muted. Sorry. So great question. We have a budget line item, Adopt a Family, that is at the discretion of Mr. Heinley. We don't know the student's name, and that's $500. I think the question regarding the Williamsburg account was because it costs so much money, if family couldn't afford it, there was always a line item in the past that, Mr. Heinen, correct me if I'm wrong, that there was always money that the PTO, when the PTO gave the money to the Williamsburg account, there was always money in there for a couple students in case they couldn't pay for it. Is that correct?
So yes, over the years, the balance for the scholarship is what I believe the line item was somewhere, I think it's fluctuated by a couple $100 here or there. I want to say it's about $1,000 or has been. Last year, there was money put in for kind of other needs that may arise that, you know, the PTO could use that I could alert PTO to. So I can't speak to this year off the top of my head, but the answer is we've typically had a line item for scholarships, yes, and it's typically around $1,000.
And that, to be clear, is specific to the Williamsburg trip.
That's correct.
And this idea was to offer scholarships for all grade levels, was this recommendation.
But only the 5th grade goes, so it would be only at the 5th grade level. And this money is raised throughout the year of 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So this is a active fund that gets raised. It's only 5th grade who would use these funds at that given time, correct?
No, well, yes, as in its original intention, the funds were raised for Williamsburg, for the Williamsburg trip, and only the 5th grade was going on that trip. This recommendation is trying to determine a way to kind of allocate and spend down that $20,000 that's in the balance right now, and is looking to offer a thought. And there's more recommendations here to consider to but with each grade that participated and contributed into that fundraising, because certain years there were fundraisers that were for the whole school, whether it be the pretzel sale or holiday bazaar or something like that. Like they were intended for the 5th grade as a 5th grade fundraiser, but the schools were participating into it in a different way. A lot of times in, I don't want to say like good faith, but like that expectation that your time's going to come when like you'll be in 5th grade and like we're all going to contribute and support each other.
I understand that because my
Okay.
5th grader was, yeah, her time's going to come. She's going to go on this trip and it's going to be a great trip. And COVID came along and it didn't come. She
Right.
did all this fundraising. Okay. So
Yep.
I get that. I
Okay.
have a 3rd grader sitting there also. My question is, since you've had this previous fund, can you tell me throughout the years how often that fund's been hit to help individuals? Because if the money's just going to sit there again, that's kind of not a good option.
Yeah. I don't know the numbers of how I know that the Adopted Family Fund was leveraged.
It's been separate.
But
It's been separate. I don't want to step in too much, but I can speak to over the years. The money that I'm referring to is separate from the account. It's been a different line item. So to my knowledge, at the top of my head, the money raised through fundraising has not gone into the fundraising is meant to keep the cost at the same level, which it has been since about 2010, of $275 per student. But the scholarship money, families of hardship have, to my knowledge, always been a separate location of money. That fundraising money has not gone directly to families that need it, if I remember correctly.
And that money might not have been used just for Williamsburg trip, correct? That could have been used for holiday hardships, different hardships throughout the year that they found a need, correct?
No, I
Or
believe
is it
was a
completely
Williamsburg line
used
item.
for the Williamsburg?
Yeah. And
my
then as
recollection
as
is
our current
Williamsburg.
budget set up, those other hardships is the Adopted Family line item for that.
And that's the change that was proposed last year overall. I just don't have the current in front of me. But in the past, it's been a Williamsburg line item for scholarship.
Jeanette, does that answer your question, or do you have additional ones?
I mean, the only additional question is, through the years, I'd like to see how often that fund has been hit to justify this kind of money going into it. I mean, that's a large sum of money for a fund to have.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think it's the only recommendation that has this concept in it. So it could be a moot point to some extent because it won't get the votes in the end, depending on how the rest of the conversation goes. But I think last year, Steph, I don't know if you can do quick voodoo magic here, but I think it was about $200 to the $400 that was budgeted last year, maybe $300 for the Adopt a Family Fund. And then as Mr. Heinley said, about $2,000 or $1,000 for the Williamsburg scholarship. So, all right. Any other questions or thoughts on this? All right, I'm going to advance to the second recommendation that we had put forward. That would just be a flat percentage of the cost. This recommendation was working on the assumption that PTO is contributing about $10,000 or 20% of the Williamsburg expenses, which were estimated to be around $50,000. Therefore, each class would receive 20% of the year's total expenses to apply against the costs. So for example, this current 5th grade class, if the total costs were $20,000 for their upcoming trip, the PTO would contribute $4,000 to offset the costs, and the remaining balance would be paid by the families. We would just run this until the funds are depleted. We do have a question whether a max should be set of like 10,000 or 5,000. And that this concept could be applied to a flat amount per grade level as well, where we just kind of say like everybody's going to get $3,000 flat out. That was one of the feedbacks from points of feedback from the meeting last week or last month. So does anybody have any questions or care to speak in favor of this idea?
This is Jess Lloyd. I just want to be clear that under this recommendation that the 6th and 7th grades get no money, correct?
Yes, yeah, this is like just kind of like, this is the 20,000 that's sitting here and we'll spend it down on starting with this year with the 5th grade and the current.
Okay.
Yep, and moving forward. Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions? Or anyone care to speak in favor of this? All right, I'm going to advance. All right, so oops, how do I go back? All right, so this is our third recommendation, which includes 6th and 7th grade disbursements. This was added following the meeting due to community feedback. So this recommendation seeks to provide contributions to the 6th and 7th grade classes and spread the remaining balances to the current NPE classes. It weights the 7th grade class receiving 50% of the giving funds and then distributes the remaining balance. So this was kind of an effort to kind of land in around that $10,000 that the 7th grade would have received had it gone forward with the trip in 2020. And then I'm going to be honest, it's like somewhat arbitrary that I like offered these recommendations of the descending amount, so like we could play around with it, but just to have some scaling back on the additional years. So this option, again, it gives 6th and 7th grade and weight 7th at a higher amount. NE, hi, Marielle.
Hey, I was just wondering how it would be dispersed to the 7th and 6th grade classes.
Yeah, so any of the distributions for the 6th and 7th class, I believe our expectation is that we will wait until they arrive in 8th grade and then put it into the, or sorry, wait until they arrive into 9th grade and put it into their fund for future senior year celebration classes is the intention. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Also, I know there's a couple parents from middle school on the call right now. I just wanted to make sure that there are the representatives from the 6th grade and the 7th grade class on the call.
I do not know.
Marielle, my son currently is in 6th grade and I'm the dispersing treasurer for the HSA, and Grace is the current chair of the HSA and has a 7th grader.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Would that be distributed amongst the entirety of the class? Obviously, not just the NPE group.
Yeah, I think we weren't able to come with any like solution that then earmarks it for like graduating NPE, like a NPE alum, that it would just go into the overarching fund. So of course, like other students that went to different schools for their K through 5 would benefit as well. But we couldn't think of any other idea. So if your question does have an idea behind it on a solution, we are certainly open to ideas.
Well, we also have Jolyn Foster on the call. She is the rep for the 6th grade, the class rep for 6th grade.
Okay, thanks. I was kind of wondering, and this may have been mentioned and I missed it. I apologize if so. I know that all of the classes leading up to when the first Williamsburg trip got skipped, there had been like rollover year after year from other classes fundraising. Is that the amount minus like the 10,000 odd that's earmarked for the 7th grade class, since they raised most of that?
We didn't do the math that way, but I would say it's about that. Jess, I'm going to ask you to maybe comment on that since I know you're a little bit closer to it, but I think the budget coming into the year was around $10,000 and then the fundraising after was about 10,000.
Jolyn, do you happen to remember? I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't have it handy.
I remember off the top of my head that there was around 10,000 already in the account going in before we started fundraising for that Williamsburg trip, our 5th graders. And I know that we reached almost 11,000 in our fundraising, if that matches up.
Yeah, that would more or less match up here. And then the next slide does show the amount that was like raised by specific fundraisers for the 5th grade.
Yeah, so I'm not jumping in on this because I did not get any information other than what is in QuickBooks on what was actually fundraised. I think we have it from Jess, and I think I had spoken briefly with Jolyn about it, but I don't have any paperwork on what was actually fundraised. I think that there was a spreadsheet somewhere, but it was not transferred to me, so I don't actually know what came in.
It's in the disk drive that I gave you, the incoming receiving treasurer.
Okay.
I have
yeah.
a USB port that has all those spreadsheets on it of what was remaining from the Williamsburg count prior.
I'll have to track that down because I did not get that.
And then what this one did. Yeah.
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 I
So
I
it's
didn't
a-
have
it
any
should
of
be
that
in receiving
information. So
treasurer's hands.
we were going off of other spreadsheets
Yeah.
that were
Yeah,
given.
I just
because
know that
didn't have
I
any.
had it. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for, I'll have to try to track
that's
that
where
down
they
somehow.
are. Sure.
I was just curious because I know that the current 7th grade class hit their benchmark like really early in the year, and a lot of that money should probably be earmarked for them. Just my thought. But thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions or feedback on this idea? All right, then I'm going to advance. Oh, Grace, thank you.
Sorry, so I just had one suggestion. If there is any money that's dispersed to the 6th and 7th grade, at the middle school, the 8th grade end of year celebration is a pretty big deal because they're graduating from middle school, going to the high school. So that could be where the funds could go towards, because it's a fairly big budget line item. So I just wanted to put that out there. Like last year, even though we were in the middle of the pandemic, we managed to hold outdoor end of year grade celebrations for each grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But the 8th grade one went pretty big. We had inflatable kiosk games. We had the Kona water ice truck. We had the Dippin' Dots. We had a DJ. We had a photo booth. And the DJ especially was like a huge hit because the students and the staff were all dancing, and it ended up being a really, really great time, but also, you know, it was a pretty big expense. So that was purely funded by just parents providing direct donations. But if whatever you vote on, if there's any disbursement to 6th and 7th grade, it can go towards that.
Thank you, Grace. I'm going to react to some extent of I'm going to make a recommendation that we vote on the disbursement, and then we'll table how the disbursement will happen after that, unless if it really is like influencing people's decision on the disbursement, and then probably work with your group, Grace, to have some discussions among the 6th and 7th class of like where they wanted to land. Because at that point, I really do, like, this is my personal opinion. I feel like the decision point is elsewhere to some extent. So, all right. Any other thoughts or comments on this? Great. All right, then the 4th idea here is a little bit of a hybrid that includes the shares of 6th and 7th grade funding, but also takes a look at, we did have this amount. Jess was able to provide, like, since she was the lead for the 5th grade fundraising in the 2019-2020 year. So we know that like specific fundraisers for 5th grade were $5,504. The remaining balance, Jolene, I'm going to assume that like was raised toward the 5th grade and the Williamsburg Fund were maybe more community-wide, like Camp Fair or other events such as that. So what we did here was...
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I
interrupt?
Those weren't new added things. The previous years before we added Camp Fair and all those other community things, that money went towards the 5th grade as well. It wasn't something that just started the year we're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I didn't mean to characterize them as new, but just that it would have been new money that year that got up to that $11,000 that you were saying.
Yeah, this 5,504 was the direct donations, the shoe fundraiser, and the spirit nights. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But the other
not just
money that were advertised as fifth grade
Exactly.
fundraisers. I don't
Yeah.
think we can right now say, okay, well, we had to take them out because they were advertised as fifth grade fundraisers. And I know at least when I was treasurer, the 2 years prior to our fifth grade class that we're talking to had those earmarked as part of that $10,000 budget fund. So it isn't something that's new that I think right now should be good or, but
Okay.
that's
Well, then
just
I
the
think
money.
in recommendation 3, it doesn't view them as something new, because it would kind of include it as part of the 20,000. So I think that
right, because those
addresses that
they've
where
been
like it's not separating this out.
right. I don't think at this point, in my opinion, that we can start separating fifth grade fundraising events specifically because the previous years you already went to them. We already advertised to the community when we were doing those events that, hey, these funds were going to fifth grade. I don't think now at this point it's like, hey, well, more of the community participated in this versus this. I think we're past that. If we're going to divide up that money, I think it should be, like I said, there was already 10,000 in from other grades, plus adding our 11,000 from that year. And then there was even more. So I just didn't want to start like breaking down which exact fundraiser, because that's was already determined, in my opinion.
Okay. Thanks, Julian. And I think then I think then that thinking, I think, is reflected in the previous recommendations of kind of looking at this as a full amount. This recommendation is going to kind of call out the specific shoe donation, spirit nights, and the direct donations, pulling that out. And that was 5,540. The students were directly gifted 2,600 in sweatshirts that year and totes. And so this recommendation suggests that the remaining balance of that 228.45 would go to the current seventh grade as part of the spend down. Jeanette, do you see your hand? I'm going to just walk through this and then I'll get your question first. So subtracting that balance from the seventh grade remaining 2019 direct fundraising leaves 17,505 in the Williamsburg account for distribution for the classes from second to seventh grade, based upon the years they would have contributed in. This does not include a line for scholarship funds that you saw on 1. So in the chart, you'll see kind of the shares, the 654321, the percentage that they would get of that 17,505. And then you'll see the seventh grade number ticks up to reflect the 5,001 plus the 2845. So the disbursement would be that allocation for the teams, the grades. So Jeanette, I saw your hand.
So as the gifts and the totes and the sweatshirt, and it was much appreciated with the COVID issues going on, but the kids didn't get their pool party, didn't get any of the activities that they were supposed to at the fifth grade level that most kids will probably get now, or some type of activity. So to say it was gifted, I disagree. I mean, that money's all slated for.
You're right, Jeanette. It wasn't gifted with the Williamsburg money. It was already. It was
accounted for in different buckets.
Yes,
correct?
It was already part of their end of the year thing. So yeah,
it was taken out of the Williamsburg account. I have it.
But
then they shouldn't have,
because that was already slated for them to go to the pool party that never occurred. The graduation
I have
really
a
never
withdrawal
happened.
from the Williamsburg account to cover that specifically.
Then again, in my opinion, and I'm not going to argue it, but it shouldn't have been gifted.
right. I mean, I don't know who withdrew from that account, but it was my understanding as a board that we did not touch the Williamsburg money for that fifth grade year because we always gifted the students t-shirts and stuff, but it was already a line item, as Jeanette was saying.
They did the t-shirts and everything, but then the additional sweatshirts and bags and things like that were withdrawn from the Williamsburg account and brought over into the general account to cover that cost.
So like, and I don't know, because I'm guilty. I don't pay attention to everything, but what would the pool party have cost if they had them? Does anybody have the line item? What the pool party cost?
This year, the pool party cost 12 as a reference point, 1,200. Stephanie, is that?
And we had a lot more people here for that. I can
Okay,
look back
so
in QuickBooks and see if I have a line item for that.
And then any other activities they have around their graduations and stuff. I mean, I guess that's my point. For my 7th grader, and I'm here for her and her team and her people and her guys. They got nothing. And what I'm trying to make sure is when they go to their senior year that, hey, it's a great senior year for them, or it's a great bridge crossing for them, and that we went above and beyond for them. You know, this was their year, and they got absolutely nothing for it.
Thanks, Jeanette. I appreciate your feedback, and it's great that you're advocating for your daughter and all her pals, and that's heard in this group, so that people like have that when making their decision moving forward. Nancy or Colleen, I don't know if you want to comment on any of the back. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but at the same time, if you have a perspective to offer on those totes and sweatshirts and where that spend could be, perhaps it's helpful. If it's not, I'm also okay.
I don't want to, I was co-chair that year. I was not treasurer, so I don't want to say what should or shouldn't have happened.
Okay.
And quite honestly, it was so long ago that I don't remember the specific details.
That makes sense.
With the benefit of hindsight, I would say, and I don't want to get too far deep into the weeds on this and start, nickel and diming from the general account to the Williamsburg account and all. But I think Jeanette's point that the year-end activities, through no fault of anybody but the virus, were canceled. Those activities, those year-end activities, pool party, graduation, etc., would be typically paid out of the general fund, not the Williamsburg fund. So if there was, let's call it, unused funds that year, the PTO also paid for the banner that we used for the drive-by that the kids did have. It's a couple $100, wasn't a ton. But like I said, without trying to nickel and dime and reconcile to the penny, if there was, you mentioned earlier in the call, in the meeting, a $17,000 surplus, I would imagine that some portion of that surplus is unused funds from the end of 5th grade. I don't know what that number is. I don't need to know it. But yeah, I mean, I think, you guys are obviously going to vote however you're going to vote, but I think the kind of the overriding message is that these kids and parents worked really hard that year to raise a considerable sum of money that unfortunately they weren't able to reap any benefits from. So I would encourage anyone who's voting to keep those classes in mind.
Yep.
So the only thing I'm looking back in my QuickBooks and in my spreadsheets that I do have access to, and I don't see any of the costs for prior, like 2019's 5th grade class. So Jolynn, that might be in with some of the spreadsheets that I never got from your stuff. I'll have to again ask around or look in the closet for that. So
yeah, I
don't have any of that
to
off
give
the
you
top of my head.
anything. I don't
What was that?
believe. I don't think my stuff was supposed to be transferred to you since we're not the same position.
Yeah, probably not. But
so that's why you wouldn't have any of
Sarah.
my stuff. But yes, Sarah
yeah.
would have everything, and it's up to you to communicate what you'd like to see from past. What I kept as receiving treasurer wouldn't have to you. So
yeah, so I'm just saying I look through my stuff, so I don't actually know the. Yeah, I don't.
I'm sure if you guys
right
would
now
meet
in this meeting
and
have
go look
access
at
to that.
Yeah, if you both kind of put your stuff together,
Yeah, but it's
you would
not going
have
to
a
help with
complete
this
picture.
at this.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
I'm gonna hop in
it's
here and
out
just
there.
acknowledge that there's an action item coming out of this to kind of dig into this a little bit more. So we'll take care of that. Jennifer, I see your hand.
Sure, Mike, thank you. I just, I helped Mrs. Gummel organize the 5th grade pool party last year. So I just had a point of like factual point.
Yeah.
That the PTO approved $440 worth of reimbursement to Creekside to cover the cost of that pool party for the 5th grade. It was organized by parent volunteers, just helps.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anybody have any other thoughts or comments on this or in favor of this idea?
Colleen, do you still want me to read your email or are you good? Okay, I'll read Colleen's email. I understand that voting for a plan to spend down the Williamsburg account is scheduled for the January 22nd meeting. While I'm no longer a parent and therefore not eligible to vote, I did want to offer my input as a community member and a resident of the NPE catchment area. Further, I was actively involved as a member of the PTO for many years. I'm skipping a little bit. It's my sincere hope that the current PTO will consider allocating a portion of funds of the Williamsburg account of class of 2027. This class has fully completed their lofty fundraising obligations only to have their trip canceled shortly before the scheduled leave. While it is true that grades 2 through 6 have also contributed to the account balance through their support of the 5th grade fundraisers, it has been my experience as an executive board member that the upper grades provided the lion's share of support and participation. In addition, the parents of the class of 2027 were tasked with raising the funds. It seems unfair to have this class not reap any of the benefits from the unused funds, which they worked so hard. I think it would be lovely and certainly well-deserved gesture for the NPE PTO to make a significant contribution from the Williamsburg account to the class of 2027. Although it seems like a long way off, these students will enter high school in 1.5 years and will immediately start fundraising for their senior celebrations. This will give them a great head start. That's it. That's from Colleen Kudrick.
Great, thank you. Jess? All right, I'm going to pause just for a moment longer, see if anyone else has any questions or thoughts on this. All right, and then I will hopefully advance to the last recommendation that was offered from community feedback was that all funds would be given to the current 7th grade classes high school fund. The reason I like this one is that I didn't have to do any math in making the slide here, but wanted to open it up to see if anybody has any thoughts or feedback on this, particularly to speak in favor of this idea. Okay. I'll pause one more minute in case somebody's trying to find their mute button or the raise hand. All right, at this point, this was for just reviewing the slides here. So at this point, we have these 5 recommendations. I do want to open it up more to more general conversation, see if anybody has any additional recommendation that they would want to put on the table or amend any of these ideas. I really think it's important to emphasize that like we're doing everything we can to be very transparent here, get community feedback on this to make sure that like it's a decision that's shared by the community on what to do here. I acknowledge that we're after the 8 o'clock hour, so we can decide if there's an opportunity to like move to a vote on one of these ideas. If anything is kind of bubbling to the top as the majority, we can move forward with that. If no idea does get the majority at this time, we would want to kind of regroup and bring forward kind of 1 or 2 options towards the next meeting or consider some other voting options on that. So I'll pause to see if anybody, to answer that question, if anybody has any additional ideas or recommendations that they want to put forward.
Hi, Mike, this is Jessica. Jessica Summerwood. I move that we vote via poll to see if we can come to a simple majority.
All right, any second?
I second.
Second.
Right. I heard some seconds there. So, all right. And Jess, I think for rules, we move to vote. So I will go over this slide. 1 was the option. Let me see if I can move them stuff around here. Slide 1 was the, you can maybe see this behind the poll, that is did not take in 7th grade. It just started with 6th grade, and that 6th grade share goes towards the scholarship fund. Option 2 was that the kind of just the rolling percentage as it rolls down. Option 3 was 6th and 7th grade distributions, kind of just as a flat. And then option 4 took into consideration some of the more class specific fundraising opportunities and that disbursement there. And then allocates everything else as a additional.
Can you show that slide?
Oh, sorry. There you go. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And then slide 5, I'm not going to advance to since there isn't a chart on that, was that 7th grade class we get the full balance. And as we're voting here too, like not seeing us getting to that 31 number quite yet. I know some of this could be because we may have some non-voting members on the call tonight, but just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to have any questions that you may have answered on this.
I'm trying to figure out how many non-voting members we have on the call.
We had 21 votes for the budget.
Okay, so we have.
So I don't know if a couple people have popped on.
Mr. Heinley.
I did pop on.
Okay, I'm just going to run down this list and talk and tell me if I miss you and you're a non-voting member. Does that make sense? Mr. Heinley, Colleen, Grace, Jolynn, I believe that's it. I believe everybody has a kid in NPE. Did I miss anybody else?
Okay. And then I think Stephanie, you and I all have to vote verbally unless if you've taken Stephanie off as a host.
Oh, no, but I could.
She didn't, but I did message her. But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well say your thing. She's going to take you off and you're going to vote and we're going to see this bar slide over and be like, that's Stephanie's. Grace, yeah, I see your hand.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. I see Jian Yan and Yumi Otani on there. They're also non-voters.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Grace. All right, and Jess will add my vote to slide 4, please. Option 4.
Okay, it's looking like slide 4 is a clear majority at 77%. Here, I'm going to end the poll now. We have 32 participants. We have 34 people on the call.
I think if we do 22 in favor, Jess, you voted for slide 4?
Yes.
All right, 22 in favor of 4, 5 in favor of 6, and 1 in favor of 2 will be the total tally for that.
And I can download this and just to make sure that we have record of who voted for what, just so you guys know. No, I'll put in the minutes, which are going to take me a really long time to do.
All right, well then I'm going to stop sharing at this point and I think pass the agenda over to somebody else. But I think.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Sure, and thank you everybody for your conversation and participation. It's just great to have all the feedback and have the additional ideas coming in over the past month. I hope that we came to a good solution. I think we came up with a better idea than what we first proposed, and that was because of the ideas we heard from the community. So thank you.
Guys, before I pop off, because I'm no longer an NPE member, I do want to thank you guys, the PTO, for not only your ideas, but for listening to the feedback of the community. I think this is a reasonable solution for everyone. And I'm really glad that you guys, gave some options. So, and good job.
Yes, thank
your
you
website looks awesome. And
for allowing us to listen.
Thank you, of course. I'm gonna. I know it's getting late, so I'm gonna hop onto committee reports. I'm gonna give Mike a break, so I'm gonna start with Read Across America because I know Stephanie's on.
Hi, how are you? So I'm Stephanie King, and I'm co-chairing Read Across America this year with Kelly Smith. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do it last year, but I, for some reason, remember something happening. I don't know if Mr. Heinley can chime in on that. But so this year, we thought we were going to be able to have an in-person event, but clearly that's not going to happen. So what we are planning to do is we've already contacted a bunch of the previous readers. So what we plan to do is have everybody record their reading and then kind of almost like a back to school night where they can watch the videos. Well, actually elementary didn't do it this way, but the middle school and high school, they just have videos that you can watch. So we were thinking the kids could, because the fun of Read Across America is getting a book and like doing all this fun stuff. So we thought that maybe the day of, so we're planning it for March 3rd, and that whole week is Read Across America. So March 3rd, we thought we would set up tables and have a couple volunteers in the building. And as the kids leave school, they can choose a new book. And then we're going to give out like, cups with a cocoa mix and maybe a bookmark and whatever else, cute little thing. So then they can go home, make their hot cocoa and watch a couple of their favorite people, teachers or community members read stories of their choosing. So that's our plan as of right now. Again, March 3rd, we're going to start collecting books. We're going to put out a Sign Up Genius to collect new and like new books. And we're going to break it down into the grade levels because that's what we have previously done. So we're working with what we have, but I still think it's going to be a really fun and exciting event this year. Does anybody have any questions or concerns for me?
Stephanie, I do. And I know you, oh, sorry, Kelly.
No, you're good. Just for the donation books, we're just going to drop them off at somebody's house. I have a big collection, so I've been like collecting since like last year. So
yes, my house, there's a bin on the front porch, so just throw them on my front porch and I will get to we are going to ask in the Sign Up Genius that maybe you could somewhat sort them by, like
okay,
different levels, so then that way it's a little less work for me, but we'll take what we can get.
Are you guys going to do the sorting? Do you guys need Sign Up Genius for people coming to sort?
I don't think we haven't gotten that far yet. So we'll see how this collection goes. Because again, on the Sign Up Genius, it's going to have people sign up for like specific slots. So like if you look at your collection, you're like, oh, I have, this all looks like first and second grade, then you could just sign up for those first and second grade slots.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
And then Mike, you had a question?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that it? Sorry.
No, I was wondering, I know you've reached out to everybody already, so like perhaps it's too late, but did you give thought to doing like a live event that night on Zoom or something like that? So there would kind of be like, you could still pick your Zoom link and go out to that room as if you were walking the like hallways and getting to see it live.
Yeah, so I did think about that, and I just felt like logistically it might be a nightmare, because if you are, so like, so say Mr. Heinley's on his link, then he's got to let all these like admitting, how, and then where do you cut it off at 100? You know what I mean? So I just, I did think that the other day. I was like, oh, maybe they could just all do like live Zooms, but then I don't know. But we certainly can think about that still. It's not totally off the table. We just recruited all the readers, so we just have a list of who said they would read and who are on board. So
that's great. And then I will offer, because of the board event that we did, I think we have a Zoom account right now that goes pretty high. I don't know the number, but if you even wanted to have like one reader and 2 time slots or something like that, like if you were able to get like an author that was like marquee, maybe it could just be the one event, and then you could have a volunteer admitting people into the room that's not disrupting the
reader,
but you could still have like a live event if it was like a special author or something like that.
Okay, and that is correct, because we did upgrade our Zoom for this board, the board members meeting. So it is pretty significantly high at this point.
So I think it's awesome. I'm so happy we're doing something, because this is one of my favorite events of the year. So looking forward to when we can do it again back in school.
Yes, us too. And Mr. Heinley, you have a question?
Yeah, I just sent an email to the office. They're going to reach out. I'd like to sit down for about 30 minutes. With our teachers using Seesaw and knowing what the possibilities are, maybe I can just give you some ideas. Not saying you have to change anything. I think it's a great idea. We can make it happen, but I have a couple thoughts that I just want to pass along that might make it easier, whether it's not a live event.
No, it would be great.
Yeah.
I think initially when we started this, I did, I said, if anybody wants to meet, we're totally open to that. So that would be perfect. That'd be great.
Yeah,
We can also leverage the PTO website too.
Yeah. We're gonna need to, so thank you.
I know it's late, but I just have to share a quick funny story. We, I guess about 5 years ago, on Read Across America, I had to go to these courses that administrators have to take. It's like a non-negotiable to keep your license. And I was in Harrisburg. And it was before Zoom was a thing. And I zoomed into the kindergarten classroom. And back then, you only had so many minutes. So the first session went great, but the second, I couldn't really see everyone. So again, we're going back 5 years. But my introduction to Zoom was me reading the book that I was reading with about 20 kids in the room. And I got the warning that you had 2 minutes left. And I had about 10 pages and I was having a heart attack. And it's just, I just have to share that. Here we are 5 years later, and it's like, sure, we have an account. We can have 200 people come in. Yeah. And it was almost an absolute nightmare. But it's, as I'm thinking about this, I have that flashback. So if we could pull it off 5 years ago, if it's live, great. If not, there's definite options either way. So we're going to set up a meeting next week, Mrs. King. So
perfect.
Together. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Kelly, for heading this up. And then for STEAM night, both our co-chairs are not able to attend tonight. Stephanie Walkup and Christy Newton, but I just want to let you guys know some information coming up. We are doing a STEAM night. It's going to be outside. They submitted the paperwork already. It's March 28th, rain date April 4th. They're thinking times like 6 to 7:30. The location is going to be the sidewalks and the NPE parking lot with parking to be at Creekside. There will have a sign up genius coming out shortly regarding volunteers to do some demonstrations and helping setting up and cleaning up. So that's March 28th with the rain date of April 4th, and it's going to be outside. So that's more to come on that. So they weren't able to attend. So I just wanted to give that information to everybody. And then I'll turn to Camp Fair to Nancy and Mike.
Sure. A quick update. Unfortunately, we're gonna host Camp Fair again as a virtual event, in part because of not being able to access the school or the uncertainty of how we would do that. We looked at Garden City, and the space is just like they're capping at 100 people. So if we got 20 camps in there, we'd have to kind of cap it, but still think it's a really great resource to be able to provide to the community, that curated list. So probably we'll get the announcement and start promoting this starting tomorrow. Did want to kind of just wait tonight to make sure in providing that update, see if there's any feedback, but that will be February 12th from 12 to 3. This is one of those opportunities we will publish the list of everyone that's participating and invite the camps to provide a Zoom link that people could kind of hop in like an open house as if they were walking up to the table and have any of their questions answered. So there would be a quote unquote live component to it. Any questions? All right, Kelly, thanks.
No problem. And I'll just, is Emily on the line for Assemblies and Martin Luther King? Nope.
I don't see her anymore.
I'll give you an update. So because of COVID, we're just limiting some things. We're trying to do a Martin Luther King celebration, but we just had to change things around because of the COVID situation. She was able to book an author, sing a song to coincide with Black History Month. She's been working with Mr. Heinley on this one, I believe. It's February 11th is going to be the author. And they're going to be 2 sessions, and she's going to be taking questions, and it's going to be Zoom. Perfect. After she works on this, then she'll work on maybe trying to get the Franklin Institute or somebody to maybe come out and do an outside demonstration or something in the spring. So we do have money allotted for that. So that's what we're working on for Assemblies this year. And that's what we have. I know it's getting late, so I'm just gonna hop on. Biggest news we have for the PTO is we met yesterday, and to make sure everybody can attend, we're gonna change the monthly meetings from the first Wednesday of every month to the second Wednesday of every month. So that's a change we're gonna have. We're gonna reflect it in our Facebook and our website also, and on our calendar. And then just hop on with community announcements really quick. We have the vaccine clinic going on. I know there's information on the website right now, so definitely look into the vaccine clinic going on at the middle school, I believe, right now. Martin Luther King service, if you're looking into something local for you and your family on Monday, Houston Park is having a cleanup. There's information on the website regarding that, which is a great opportunity. And we are reaching out more with Wes and SRS's PTOs to make sure we're sharing information. SRS just created a new committee. It's called SRS Connects, and it's to promote dignity and belonging to our community. And if anybody would like to belong to that, they would like people from West and NPE. Just shoot us an email if you want additional information. I can get you the right person to call. Just shoot us an email at npeparentteacher@gmail. We'll get you the right point of contact. But again, that's a new committee for SRS, and it's their idea is to connect and promote dignity and belonging in our community. So if you're interested in that, just let us know. I know we ran late. I'm so sorry. So thank you all for your input regarding Williamsburg. I know that was a big tackle. Mike, you did an amazing job. Thank you for tackling that and taking that on and updating the spreadsheets, and it was awesome. So thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. You can shoot an email anytime, and have a good night, everyone.